am Matthew from Miscellaneous Debris, and welcome to another edition of Wrestling on Tap. So this week I kind of wanted to touch on just a few things coming out of Backlash from this past Sunday here. Backlash, which was a pay-per-view that was so forgettable that the announce teams no-sold it as if it was nothing, because it basically was nothing. The only thing that stands out on that show is Seth Rollins versus The Miz. And that match, in my opinion, is what a 5-star match would look like. I thought that the pacing was great. It was a showcase of both Seth Rollins and The Miz. Even though I turned on the pay-per-view to Seth Rollins holding the belt above his head and winning, I still went back and watched the match from the beginning, and I still thought that The Miz picked up the victory somehow with some of those near falls towards the end of it. That is how good. I knew what the outcome was, but I still thought the outcome was going to be different when I was watching the match. That is how good that match was. All the other matches were either just okay or sort of ho-hum, you know, and the main event was just the apex of what the problem is with Vince McMahon and his booking of Roman Reigns. You know, fans took over that main event, and I feel the person I feel bad for the most is Samoa Joe, because that dude does not deserve any of the hate that the fans are bringing onto that match. And even the fans that were walking out at the very end of the match, you know, it's still kind of an insult to Samoa Joe to do that. I understand why fans did that. Vince McMahon seems to think that the fans were trying to beat the traffic, but we all know better. We all know that the reason that the fans were leaving was because they're just sick and tired of Roman Reigns. There was no reason for Roman Reigns to be booked into that main event slot. Now, that being said, you can't end a pay-per-view with the way that they ended that WWE Championship match. So, that being said, you change the ending to the WWE Championship match. I don't care what story you're trying to tell. You need to be able to craft that story to be able to suit the end of the show, because you should have expected that type of reaction from the crowd. Now, you wouldn't have gotten the fans getting up and leaving. That wouldn't have happened. But you would have probably dissipated some of the hate that was directed towards Samoa Joe and Roman Reigns in particular. Now, just continuing on Roman Reigns here, I want to touch on him coming out of Backlash for a second here. So on Raw, he cut the best heel promo he's ever cut in his life. I mean, that was a heel. I realize he is portrayed as a babyface. I realize that he's being booked as a babyface, even though the fans clearly don't like him. But that is a heel promo. So he mentions in it that he is silencing his critics. Okay, if your critics were silenced, there would not be any boos in the crowd. Just want to point that out to you there. And he also says that, you know, he's taking back what's mine, meaning the Universal Championship. Bro, you never had the Universal Championship. You've never held that title in your life. So you saying taking back what is mine makes you sound like an idiot. Now, if Finn Balor said that, taking back what's mine, he never lost the championship. He had to relinquish it because of an injury. Finn Balor has more of a claim to the Universal Championship than Roman Reigns ever has. You know, he says that he can't control the backstage politics and he's being screwed over. It's not a believable storyline. I don't know if Roman is trolling us by saying that, or Vince McMahon is trolling us by saying that, or if he honestly believes that in the character of Roman Reigns believing. Obviously the person Roman Reigns doesn't believe it. Now in the match itself at the very end of the very end of Raw. Now in the match at the very end of Raw, the triple threat match between Finn Balor, Roman Reigns, and Sami Zayn, the coach says, you see, you got to team up together against the big dog if you want to have any kind of success. When you say things like that, all it does is it promotes the hate that the fans have for Roman Reigns. And it's just one of the little things that, you know, you're being produced. Someone is feeding you these lines. So either the person that's feeding him these lines are Vince McMahon, or the coach is making some really bad choices in the things that he says to try and put Roman Reigns over. Now, when Roman Reigns was out of the match, he then followed it up with, the fans are torn. They don't know whether to focus on what's going on in the match between what was going on between Balor and Zayn, but they're all interested in what's going on with Roman Reigns. Nobody gave two shits what was going on with Roman Reigns when he was in the crowd. I'm sorry, you can't make claims like that and pass it off as fact. You can't just make up your own shit. It doesn't work that way. That's not how life works. So in saying that all the fans were interested in what's going on with Roman, not one person was looking behind them trying to find out what was going on with Roman Reigns if they were on the hard camera side. Not one fan. The Balor and Zayn were putting on a really, really good match without Roman Reigns in the ring, and the coach just says, it's just another one of those things that you just kind of stop and you say, do you honestly think this is helping? Because this is one of the biggest problems with Roman Reigns. The second thing, or the last thing I want to touch on with Roman Reigns before I get off my soapbox here, is the blocking of talent during the Roman Reigns interview. So if you're unfamiliar with what blocking is, it's when the director determines where the actors should move or be to be able to properly place them within a certain scene. So that being said, and now that you know what that is, I know that Roman Reigns is tall, but Mike Rome is not that short. I don't know if they had Roman Reigns on a telephone book or if they made Mike Rome kind of on his knees when he was interviewing him, but the height difference was very, very substantial and it was very noticeable. So I'm thinking that there was some type of blocking that the director, Kevin Dunn, wanted to portray that was supposed to make Roman Reigns look, superior to Mike Rome or being the interviewer. But it's things like that, again, that are just unnecessarily hurting Roman Reigns. And I honestly think that the people that are making these decisions think that this is helping him. And I wish I had what they had because they could pack a bowl for me and I could smoke it with them. But my gosh, man, the decision making that when it comes to this guy is just absolutely freaking astounding. This never would happen if there was actual competition for the WWE. The other things I wanted to kind of touch on were just a few quick things here. First of all, the selfie promos. If given the right circumstance and given the right context, I guess the selfie promos can be useful. Like if somebody's out and about and not in a facility that has $1 million cameras and a production crew. I understand why they would do that, but these just little quick selfie promos that the talents are doing, they're annoying and they're dumb in general. But when a superstar includes their buzzwords in it, like Bailey, for instance, said, she's a hugger and nothing would make me happier than getting up there and hugging that briefcase. So the second thing, Ty Dillinger, making some odd comparison of how many people are in the match, but when you're climbing up to it, it equals a perfect 10. It just makes me roll my eyes on some of the folks that are really impressing me these days. Ruby Riott. She's been very hungry. She was in the zone on Monday, and I think she put on a very, very good match against Ember Moon and Sasha Banks. Now, speaking of Ember Moon, another one that's really impressing me, that finisher on Monday was great. Sasha kind of looked like an idiot for, kind of hanging in there, but I understand why she did because, she had to be affected by the move itself. But still, it was a surprise win for Ember Moon, which is kind of a theme for this week, and we'll get into that. Mandy Rose looked impressive with a win over Becky Lynch. I don't know what's up with her porn theme or the entrance itself, but I mean, that being aside, the match was okay. I can't say anything bad about it. Becky Lynch is being treated as a jobber, but I think that it's going to be playing more into a storyline with turn her heel, but I don't understand why they would turn her heel because she's a natural babyface, but I digress. Seth Rollins and The Miz, both impressing me with their matches. So Seth Rollins with both Mojo Rawley and The Miz with Seth Rollins and Jeff Hardy. Just a really, really good section of matches for those guys for the last 3 days. So big kudos to them. Also, Xavier Woods, I think is a very underrated performer, especially with his role in the New Day. I do think that he can be a very serviceable worker down the line once the New Day breaks up. And apparently Big E's in line for a push, which I'm absolutely fine with. I think that Big E has come a long way from being the muscle with Dolph Ziggler and AJ Lee. So kudos to them. Kudos to everybody in the New Day, to be honest with you. I mean, even Kofi, a lot of people on the internet have been saying that, Kofi could go, you could tell a good story with Kofi being a veteran that he is, but never winning the championship, and I think that would be a interesting television set of matches and a television feud for Kofi down the line. I hope that they do that for him. Sami Zayn, his mannerisms and the air of confidence that he has about him is just absolutely fantastic. For instance, when he was sitting cross-legged on the ropes before the match on Monday, or the shoulder shrugging after the big elbow on Balor outside the ring when they were taking care of Roman Reigns, just little things like that just make you love the character even more but hate him at the same time, and I think Sami Zayn's on fire right now, and I hope that it continues for him. Also, speaking of little subtleties, Shinsuke, his heel work on SmackDown was the best I've seen. His promo with Renee Young with the no speak English, it just shows you that he's motivated, and I think that they should have put the belt on him on Sunday. However, with the ending that they had, they can continue it, and the next match, Shinsuke has to win. Otherwise, he's lost all credibility with any type of momentum that he had as a heel. Moving on to Bobby Lashley's interview from Monday. It went from being, okay, nice, some insight into him, to being like kind of uncomfortably weird to watch. The beginning of that promo package was better for him than any point in his WWE career. I learned more about him in those 45 seconds of footage that I did the entire time that he was in the WWE in the mid 2000s. They had some background on his life, had some background on his accomplishments in and out of the ring. But when he started talking about his sisters, I was like, okay, his family's a little quirky, a little odd, nothing wrong with that. But after a few minutes, it was just kind of like, man, are you trolling us right now? Like, what's going on with this? It was just really uncomfortable to watch because some of the stuff that he talked about, it may have been one of those instances where the producer on set was kind of asking him to, divulge some quirky information about his family so that they could use, for some footage. But, somebody that was putting the package together thought that this portion was funny and, decided to put that in there instead of the more serious bits. It just seems like something was amiss with that section of the interview. I don't know what they were trying to do with it. I really don't, because I didn't come away with any sense of wanting to see Bobby Lashley. It was more of a concern for him being, do you need to go talk to a therapist or get on some meds? It was just one of those weird things. Another thing that I liked over on SmackDown were the Money in the Bank look backs, or the promo packages where they showcased both The Miz and Daniel Bryan winning the Money in the Bank and then cashing in the Money in the Bank after that. It shows the importance of winning the Money in the Bank. And I think that, you have these 5-6 weeks until Money in the Bank. You can tell different stories from different characters. The Miz and Daniel Bryan this week, maybe next week you could do a Baron Corbin and John Cena, showcasing what can happen if you take your eye off the ball and you lose the case. Clips from different winners, maybe even have them on the show to kind of talk about Money in the Bank. I think that would be a good way to hype. I think that would be a better way to hype the pay-per-view than to just shove all of the participants once they're announced into tag matches and triple threats and whatnot. So we'll see where it goes from there, but so far so good. Sheamus and Cesaro, that skit on Tuesday, I shouldn't have liked it. I shouldn't have. Like, everything about that skit is kind of what I don't like in professional wrestling, but I loved it. I thought it was hilarious. I thought that Sheamus showed personality. I thought Cesaro showed personality. And I thought that it not only got Sheamus and Cesaro over, but it also got the New Day over. So I think it checked all the boxes, and I can't complain about it. I thought it was great. But I mentioned surprises a few minutes ago, and it was kind of the motif of the week, because you had the Miz's surprise win over Hardy. You had Mandy Rose's surprise win over Becky Lynch. And the biggest surprise out of all of them was Rusev's win over Daniel Bryan. Who the hell saw that coming? I'll tell you what, this guy didn't. That was absolutely incredible to see. And, I am all for Daniel Bryan putting over younger talent. As I said last week, Daniel Bryan allegedly requested to work with younger talent to help put younger talent over. And who can you help put over more than Rusev? Because Rusev is already over, but still, I don't care, because Rusev Day is today, and happy Rusev Day to everyone. But that was it was a great win. Now, I understand that people are going to complain that Daniel Bryan is essentially being buried or relegated to a minor status in the show itself or in the company itself. But when you think Daniel Bryan doesn't need all of those, I mean, like he needs some wins to gain, the credibility to be able to challenge for a championship. But in the grand scheme to, stay over, he doesn't need all of those wins, and he doesn't need to quote unquote bury anybody because he's already got the fan support. He's already embraced by every single person that has ever watched WWE. Giving the win to Rusev is absolutely fantastic. I think that was a great move. I think it was a great move to not put Roman Reigns in the Money in the Bank ladder match. I do still think that they're probably going to weasel him into it. Jinder Mahal getting involved, it's one of those. Before I wrap up, I just want to touch on this one thing. Last summer, during the whole Jinder Mahal experiment with the WWE Championship, I had suggested that Roman Reigns feud with Jinder Mahal. Like if the ultimate goal was to get Roman Reigns cheered, the best heel you could possibly have him fight is Jinder Mahal while he had the WWE Championship. Now he's kind of lost his luster. But I think that WWE is going this route. So we're going to get a match with Roman Reigns versus Jinder Mahal, which, let me tell you something, that's going to be just an absolute barn burner right there. I tell you what there. I guess the ultimate goal with this is to get Roman Reigns cheered and not embrace the heel persona. I think it's going to backfire in their faces. I honestly think until they turn Roman Reigns heel, everything that they do is going to blow up in their face. And I don't think that there's any way around it. I think that you've screwed the pooch one too many times. You've pissed the bed. Now you got to lay in it. That's it for me this week. Want to keep it short and sweet for you guys. You can always reach me on Twitter at miscellaneous, MISC, 2_debris. You can also hit me up on the emails as well. It's wrestlingontap@gmail.com. If you like what you hear, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. We're going to have some more great content coming up on the Weekly Bros podcast. We're going to be talking about our Deadpool 2 preview. And I've also got an interview coming up with a comic book expert down here in Louisiana. So I'm really, really excited to talk to him. Now, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, and or criticisms, please leave them into the comments below. Email me again at wrestlingontap@gmail.com, or you can hit us up at Twitter at miscellaneous debris. Hit us up on Facebook at miscellaneous debris channel. You guys keep on living that dream, and we'll see you soon.